What's up, what's up, what's up? Party time, folks, party time. This is Big Cheds coming to you live on, what is it, Wednesday, May 12th? It's Saturday, April 14th, 2018. I am Big Cheds. Find me on Twitter, at Big Cheds. I'm also joined by Big Chonis. What's up, Big Chonis?
Hey, good evening, Cheds. How are you tonight, man?
I'm pretty good. Are you coming to us from a tunnel?
No, I'm actually at Coachella this weekend, just chilling with the homes.
I like it. Coachella. What is that? Is that like a designer handbag convention, or what is that?
Apparently, it's where all the important people are supposed to be. That's why I'm there, right? No, it's been a nice weekend, nice kind of quiet weekend here, just trying to unwind after this crazy week of price action we've experienced, and really excited to kind of talk this out with you, try and figure out what's going on here and where we might be headed.
Let's take a look here at CoinMarketCap. I'm hearing in the background the sound being played back.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
So I'm looking at CoinMarketCap. We're looking at a 24-hour volume of almost 8 billion on Bitcoin. What do you think?
Well, all right. Let's kind of start and talk about where we've been here. I remember a few shows ago we were talking about how low the market cap, how low the money flow had become. We were unable to break 4 billion. It's like 3 days in a row there between the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. And we were kind of observing, like, what does that mean? And we were trying to hash out a few points about, well, there's not a lot of buying happening right here, but there also wasn't a lot of selling. So that was kind of your first clue that a lot of the selling, a lot of the people were unwilling to basically sell, lower than 66 to 6,500 range. The bears tried many times to kind of push it down there. I think we basically touched that range 3, maybe even 4 times. And the low volume was suggesting, hey, if you want to bring it down here, we're not selling. And finally, through a confluence of events, such as the shorts and stuff, which we can go over soon, you had a situation there where you could see the 9th and the 10th, the volume started to rise a little bit, the 11th, and then the 12th, holy crap, almost doubled in one day in that epic move that was put in by Bitcoin. And then ever since then, we're actually seeing volume begin to decrease again. And today's 24-hour volume, it hasn't finally completed yet. But wow, I mean, we just took $4 billion kind of off where we were 2 days ago. So that's interesting. The volume is definitely slowing down here.
Exactly. Well, volume's slowing down. I think we're people trying to decide how much of a push this has left, and a lot of that volume, Big Chonis, that was probably some of that short covering volume, no?
Well, yeah, and I keep saying that this move was an epic move, and it was, not just because, yes, Bitcoin went up, 9%. That's not an epic move. That's not what I'm saying. The way that it happened, the time frame that it happened in really a 1 hour candle, the largest 1 hour candle of dollar volume ever in Bitcoin. You can't say that kind of move is a natural occurring event based on market forces. There was a catalyst. There were things that were out of whack, out of equilibrium in the market that caused a situation that you could have such an epic, quick rocket ship move in such a short amount of time. And I think the price action, what we were seeing over the past 2 days of this consolidates, as we look at the Bitcoin chart here, is that the market's trying to figure out what all this means. This was an amazing move in a very quick amount of time. The move continued in this nice impulse wave here. We're trying to figure out what kind of a pattern this is putting in. Is it a bull flag potentially? Are we just consolidating from this move here? What does the volume tell us? So there's lots of variables, I think, that we can kind of play around with and hash out to get a better understanding of where we are.
All right, brother man. So, so are you bullish or bearish right now on Bitcoin, short term?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, that's the perfect answer, is yes. That's what people always ask me, if I'm bullish or bearish. And I say yes. Is it going up or down? I say yes. Yeah, I mean, it still looks pretty bullish in general. Clearly we're in like a consolidation pattern, and it hasn't broken down yet. If we're just being objective, it's still consolidating. It hasn't like broken down yet. So you'd have to argue it's still short-term bullish, Big Chonis. Looks like a kind of an important area here in the 1 hour. Personally, for me, we've got this area right at 78.90. So there's that one part here. We had 4 or 5 hours. Another time here, we had a couple hours. And right here it was support. So what I would be wanting to see is that I'd want to see that level hold. If there's a pullback, and if it didn't hold, that might be a sign that it's losing some strength, perhaps. But I think you have to assume it's still strong. However, there's just not a lot of volume. There's not a lot of follow-up volume, Big Chonis. There's not a lot of follow-through sell volume.
What does that tell you?
It tells you that it's undecided if it's bullish or bearish, and that this move was a short covering move without a catalyst outside of that behind it. There wasn't like an announcement that like Germany is gonna get rid of their currency and start using Bitcoin. So we didn't have any kind of like big announcement. So it tells me that the story still is yet to be written. I'm gonna jump back into 4 hour. Stock RSI is cooling off, but the RSI is still pretty hot. 4 hour. I'm just gonna remove these marks here. Okay, 4 hour. Yeah, I mean 4 hours of bullish consolidation pattern right now. I mean, you'd have to say it looks like I don't know, like an ascending triangle, perhaps. I'm gonna pull that up on the screen. What do you think here, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do the 4 hour there, the stock RSI is beginning to reset. The OBV has remained strong.
Mm-hmm.
The RSI that was really topped off here has definitely come back, below that overbought region there. I got a few ideas kind of about what we're seeing here in the price action. Let's say that, okay, Bitcoin shot up to $8,100. Was all the smart money that kind of played this move here, did they basically sell out at around $8,000 in their first hourly candle where that happened? Because if you think about it, the retracement from that, on the next couple hours after that, basically touched 75, it's like 75.55. And, a lot of people, a lot of Elliott wave people and Fibonacci charts that I've been looking at, and I've even said, it'd be nice if this thing could correct to that 75.50 range, and maybe we've already done it. Maybe we've already done that correction based on that, big move there, because, it was $1,000 move basically in an hour, and then we took 50% off that move there. So if you were playing that one quick candle, were you basically out at around $8,000?
You got to be.
Did you plan to buy back in?
Don't you have to?
Yeah, I mean, because that, you blast through the Bollingers, you blast through so many indicators that say, holy smokes, this is so overbought in such a short period of time. I don't care what the fundamentals are. I don't care what the setup was like.
RSI was 77, Big Chonis, on the 4 hour, and it's actually kind of still went up from then, so it's kind of weird.
It just shows, because it was so quick. It was just so quick in such a small amount of time, way outside the standard deviation, which is a term that we constantly use there.
Bearish divergence on the OBV, though, on the 4 hour.
Yeah, and so let's just say hypothetically that we did correct from that candle there, and let's say hypothetically that candle itself may have been a wave 3 impulse, let's just say.
Okay.
And the pullback to 75.55 was the wave 4 correction, and then wave 5 basically topped off at like 8,200, where we basically topped off on this run so far. Are we doing an ABC correction here, where basically we did our A, where we bought them about at 7,800. We're now in our B phase here, and then the C phase is actually what would put us into this real correction from this move. The volume is something that I keep watching here, because if this was a complete market sentiment change, where everybody is like, oh, we've bottomed, crypto is back with a vengeance, the alts are showing that, Ethereum is a huge move, regulations are eating, all these things that are add to the positive news that can move the markets. Does that make sense in this moment here? And if that's the case, then this will continue to trickle up and trickle up. The thing is, though, until the bulls get a reason to basically sell, this is kind of held up here. The thing that's kind of scary about this move, though, is how it's happened so fast and whatever. It feels so unnatural, which means another potential move to the downside quick can also happen as well.
Why not up? Why can't we have another short squeeze up, though?
Well, we definitely can, and here's why. You have for the short term, basically, because of that move, because we've seen 3 times that, as of now, the bulls don't want to, or it doesn't want to drop below that 7,800 area. So
7,800.
yeah, we tried it almost 3 times. We tried to break it, and we haven't yet. So no one's prepared yet to basically liquidate right now below that 7,800.
Yeah,
so
that
we
was a
have
level
a decent short-term floor for the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
And if we can keep that floor,
right,
then a move to 8,400, perhaps 8,700 is definitely possible in this wave kind of movement we're seeing here, if the volume can come back. Tomorrow's volume could be interesting, because if we go down to 4 billion and basically we're back to half the volume we were that brought that impulse wave up, are you telling me that now, without a short squeeze catalyst, you're going to see that epic money flow that we saw a few days ago to push us to that, try and head to that 9,000 range? It doesn't seem to me, at least as a trader, the best risk versus reward situation until we get more information as to how this may play out.
So if you're in the side, like, are you playing this, Big Chonis, or what are you doing?
Well, I mean, we shot up to 8,000. We had that quick correction, and now we're back to 8,000. So what are my expectations if I were to play this? If I think it could go to 84, 8,500, which it can. I drew a trend line a few days ago on a log scale tweet, which basically showed that it would still be in this trend line area, even if it got to the $8,400 range. Every day, though, later, that price target will get a little bit lower just because of the slope of the angle there. So that's definitely still in play. But is the easy money in this play already made? Absolutely there. If you took the risk to get in around 7, if you saw this huge move happen and decided just to put in a market order, you didn't care about the fee, you just wanted to get in. If you did that and made a nice trade on this, that's awesome. That's what you want to do. You want to choose your wise battles there, and if the train is taking off, you want to hop on quick. The question is this the beginning of a larger move that's going to try and push us back over 9, back over 10, and, back to all-time highs in the future? Have we bottomed out in Bitcoin? Have we bottomed out in crypto right now? I still believe we have not. There's so many information, so much about the chart.
Is that NOT or KNOT?
Like Don Knotts? No, I do not believe that this is
sorry, go ahead.
the bottom. And I do not believe that we basically found this kind of, that this is the beginning kind of when moon, if you will.
All right. So I was just drawing the master trend line in the daily chart. We're looking at Bitfinex. I actually had linear. Let's go log real quick. I saw a really respected TA guy on Twitter basically try to say like the downhead trend had been broken, and I just wasn't seeing it yet. So I was trying to maybe redraw this upper trend line and see if I was missing something, and I just don't see it yet.
There's 2 variables that I think people need to understand. One, there's a lot of exchanges out there, and a lot of these exchanges, in terms of their chart history, are off by $100 or so sometimes.
That reminds me. We're off by $100. I think you owe me about 100. So. Oh,
you keep asking me. I told you I'll pay you when I can make a nice trade again.
You better make it happen soon.
Because there's a slight arbitrage difference in the price over a lot of these exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, Bitfinex, over this time period, you have to factor in people's Fibonacci and wave levels, because they're not always accurate. That's why it's so smart as a trader to basically stagger your buys and stagger your sells. It's stupid to try and hit the nut bottom or the nut top. But if you stagger your buys, if you feel it's a good risk versus reward, or stagger your sells as you're selling into strength, then you can basically make profit on the way up and and prepare yourself for a downward move no matter what happens. So you got to factor those differences in the pricing when you see a lot of people's charts with a slight variance in terms of why it hit here and why it hit here.
We're getting a shooting star though on the daily chart, Big Jonas, for Bitcoin.
Well, that's interesting because we kind of had one yesterday, and now we're kind of putting in.
That was kind of gravestone too. That was kind of a gravestone.
Yeah, it was Honestly, I wouldn't call it. I'd call it more shooting star than gravestone, just because the lower wick was a little too long to be a true gravestone.
Oh, please. Is
Um,
that based on version 7 or version 8 rules? Cause I
it's
want to
it's in the
the
book of the
amendum.
academy.
It's in the Talmud.
Yes,
It's in the Talmud.
yes, it is. But then, are you, or could it be a bullish engulfing candle on the daily as well?
No, no way, no how. I mean,
It's still engulfing the previous day's candle action, barely,
is it? Is it?
barely,
All
but
right.
it
What's the
is.
open here? 7911. What's our open? Yeah, no, this is below her. So this opened below. This opened at 78.89. Oh, it is engulfing. Darn it.
Yeah, it is engulfing.
God, gosh darn it.
Haven't I told you, just don't question what I say?
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm mostly
All
right.
right, you
I'm
ready to start?
mostly
You ready
right.
to start the show? Let's start the show.
Oh, okay. Hit play.
All right, hit play. Yeah, I still see weakness though on the daily chart for Bitcoin. Although I don't know, you can always argue it both ways. I mean, the volume's decreasing, which leads you to believe you're heading towards a pivot. But you don't have a lot of follow-up buy volume, which chart guys Dan always talks about that. You have this almost like a Maribozu candle, this big green candle here, and then the next day there's no follow-up. So that should be a little bit of a concern, but I know, I don't know. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that 7,800 level. Anything else before we move on to Litecoin?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We basically have back-to-back two kind of bearish wicks put in on the daily here. I put out a tweet earlier in the day talking about previous times in the past where the stock RSI was topped off in an overbought zone, and every time it had been there, Bitcoin corrected to the down. Now, I'm only basing this on every history prior or after the top. So, but there was actually a few more, or at least one more time, a fifth time, where when the stock RSI was topped off, a correction to the down was near to come. We have been up there in previous times for several days, most notably back in early February, where we basically were in that overbought zone for almost 10 days. We are currently in that overbought zone for about 4 days right now. So if you factor in,
RSI is
maybe,
different though. RSI is a different setup, a little bit.
well, and that's a great point. That's kind of one of the reasons why we like to use
Wow.
kind of both of them in this context, where it
Yep.
shows us,
Yeah.
well, maybe the RSI actually does have room to run.
Stock
Maybe this
RSI.
isn't super topped off, the actual RSI,
Right.
Maybe that's showing, even though the stock is definitely in the topped off zone there, but if you look at previous levels of that RSI top off on the daily, you see we're kind of approaching the last two times where it couldn't bust through anymore.
Daily.
I find that on the daily, yes. And I find that kind of interesting that we're once
OBV is
again,
lower than last time too, but you'd expect that the price is low.
this is true.
I
and
just don't see it,
shows
and we're
a little
at the
more
upper
weakness.
Bollinger, Big Chonis. I just don't see
Yeah.
this punching through. Do you?
Oh, I agree. I mean, this needs to correct from this move here.
Yep.
The only thing that could push it to 74 right now before dropping below 7,800 first is some sort of big money flow event, which, yes, it can happen. It definitely does seem to happen at random times. But until that moment happens, and maybe that money is on the sidelines until the chart sets up better for that kind of a move. Who knows?
Litecoin daily chart is amazing. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I'm going to remove my old lines. There's just a lot of support. We've talked about Big Chonis about, talked a lot about that 113 to 115 level, Big Chonis. How that's now a heavy support area. However, if it breaks, that will become heavy resistance because there's so many days here in recent memory. We're heading towards a Bollinger Pinch on the daily. We're not quite there, but the stochastic's a little overbought. I am seeing a little uptick in the OBV. That's nice, but this has probably just got more. It just looks like it has more sideways written all over it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's still, and we had this argument about if it was a bearish rising wedge or another term. We're still kind of we're still kind of in this pattern, even with that move there. I was almost kind of really interested to see the weakness I felt of this Litecoin move. Ethereum, which we'll discuss in a moment, has seemed to have led the way. Litecoin, we've seen it have, just tremendous quick moves where it went from 150 to 250 in a matter of days. When it bottomed in early February, it went from 105 to 170, back to 105 in like a day and a half. I mean, that was just crazy volatility. So we've seen those moments of volatility where big money flow can really move the price of Litecoin. And I was a little surprised to see it kind of peter out the way it did on that candle. I mean, still, it was an amazing move. We were at 14.15, and we basically shot to
10% move, right?
I mean, 27 there. It was definitely a nice move, but then it hit that resistance line there, and that's kind of interesting because it just feels like there's still this inherent weakness still left in Litecoin. That's still kind of keeping it subdued, if you will.
Well, there's a lot of people who still keep mentioning Charlie Lee, and they're like, he sold at the all-time high, which he didn't, of course.
He didn't. He definitely didn't.
And they're just like, it's this, it's like, it's that, and it's got mixed mojo right now, and it doesn't have clean mojo, right?
I mean, I think it definitely has more downward pressure. It's reacting to what's happening there. You could argue on the 4 hour, it's putting in some sort of a bullish flag, I guess. I can kind of see it in that context. It has consolidated.
4 hour bull flag. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why
not, right?
I see a bull pennant, but yeah, why not bull flag?
Bull pennant, you're right. Sorry, you're right. It's a pennant.
That's it.
Flags are open.
Docking your
flags
pay.
are like rectangles.
I'm docking your
pennants are more like golf flags.
I have it up. I have it up on the screen. I mean, you could go both. I mean, it's like it's art form. You could just kind of draw it whatever way you want. It could be a bull flag, which says here falling wedge. But yeah, go ahead.
But you're seeing the reset on the 4 hour chart a little bit in the stock, and the RSI is still tight, but not crazy.
Yeah, tight range.
The daily is showing similar to Bitcoin. Kind of back to that overbought area slightly. Once again, when we've been in that area before, we have come back down. I guess we kind of have to talk about if this does correct, what kind of a correction are we to expect? I almost feel like it'd be just very odd to see the price crash so quickly after there was so much price action over the past few days, whereas a trickle down effect, which I know you're a fan of, you Republican.
Trickle down, trickle down. Yeah, the P tape, yeah. All right, go ahead.
It's something that you went there. It's something that that could happen with this because there has been new money kind of put into this. There is a strong amount of dollar volume now between the 110 to 115 area now that, as you just mentioned, is now acting as a very strong support level. I can only imagine if we were at some point in the future to break down below 110, how epic a move that really would be, and how jarring that would be to Litecoin, and how that would basically potentially set the tone for a sub 100 Litecoin price, because now that 110 to 115 area is a super strong ceiling, as it's acted as a super strong floor these past few weeks.
All right, brother. Let's, I think sideways, but we'll see. When have you ever been right? Let's take a look at Ethereum daily chart. I mean, it's similar to, it looks a little better than Bitcoin, actually. A little better, but it's still pretty darn hot. Although we had the... I'm hearing that feedback, Chonis.
I'm good. Yeah,
we actually had follow-up buy volume on Ethereum that we didn't see on Bitcoin. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip back. You see how we didn't really have the follow-up buy volume on Bitcoin, but we did have it on Ethereum. So that's kind of Ethereum. That is kind of notable for me. We did have follow-up buy volume. Yeah, I mean, if it's going to run, I mean, it could run here. This is a bull pennant. So is Bitcoin bull pennant too? Yeah, I mean, it's similar. Ascending triangle.
They're all kind of bull pennanting. Right?
Yeah, ascending triangle in Bitcoin, I believe. This is a bull pennant. This is a bull pennant for sure. So this is actually, as we speak, you got to admit, it's bullish right now.
It's a bull pennant, but could that be just because of the length of the flagpole was so long
The
that
length of the flagpole is so long.
any move in this whole thing here
Yeah.
would basically have to be a bull pennant unless it
No,
completely collapsed.
it could be forming a rising wedge. It could form some type of a double top pattern, right? It could form a cup and handle. It could form a donkey and pony, which is my favorite pattern. So you don't really know. I mean, yeah, it's consolidating, and just because it's a bull pennant doesn't mean it's going to go up. It's just a bullish consolidation pattern, which can bearishly break.
Yeah, I mean,
Without a
a few
doubt.
things about how this price move has basically played out. On the daily, we were talking about how Ether was by far the most oversold when it was at the bottom. The RSI was what, at 16? I mean, 16 is so crazy low for an RSI, especially for Ethereum, considering about how overbought it was, how over in the 80s it was in the RSI. So that move created just an amazing double bottom on the RSI there, almost like put out like an inverse head and shoulders on the RSI there on the daily to kind of blast out into its current price movement here. It's led all the way in terms of its volume, in terms of its percentage volume. It is now obviously the most overbought in terms of some of the indicators that we look at, or at least approaching that kind of overbought range there. It definitely could move quicker. It's been the leader this whole time. So are we assuming that if we get this next push in Bitcoin, Ethereum from a percentage standpoint will lead the way? I think that's fair to assume that will continue. But where it's flipping now, where it's now the most bullish, that can have a tendency to kind of turn quickly and turn very bearish very quickly if the euphoria and the price action can get a little too strong.
So, very fair, my friend. Yeah, we just got to see how this pattern plays out. It's a consolidation pattern. It is a bullish pennant, and we have to see how it plays out. All right, so yeah, we just wanted to give you guys a little quick update. I mean, we hadn't talked to you in what, a whole like 10 hours since we did our last show, Big Jonas?
Yes, somewhat. I mean, we just wanted to kind of touch base on where we're at. I think price-wise, we're roughly the same where we were the last time we did a show. You have to expect the unexpected in Bitcoin. We're seeing things, price action movements that are just like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Yep.
Price drops that are like, whoa, that came to fall out of nowhere. So you got to really always expect the unexpected, kind of always be on your toes. Some of the thing we talk about in terms of like altcoins and stuff, and there's a lot of perception on coins, and we went through this when we were basically playing our OTC days about when you're in a trade, you love your trade. You don't want anybody to talk bad about your trade.
Yes.
So you get very personalized that this is my baby, and how dare you say that's overbought? How dare you say that it could be a scam? A lot of scam coins, a lot of scam stocks, a lot of money has been made on those. So if you're a good trader, you can kind of avoid all the BS and all that stuff and kind of, focus on the chart and the fundamentals of the chart and not get caught up in kind of the hype surrounding each coin.
All right. My man, I think you got to be careful. I think it's important to examine our own bias, and it's like when you have a lot of money in something, you need it to go up. You want it to go up, And if you hear someone talking bad about it, I mean those are fighting words. So I just think you have to try to be careful, try to take your money out of it, and then see what is going on and kind of try to be objective. Find me on Twitter. I am at Big Cheds. Find my man Big Chonis on Twitter at Big Chonis. And he is single, ladies, by the way. Let's see. The Complete Beginner's Guide to Cryptocurrency Trading. chedstrading.blogspot.com. Please check it out. Lots of great stuff here for you guys. And that's about it. Glad you guys decided to stop by. We just wanted to give you, a little quick update to keep everyone plugged in. And
yeah, we'll try and keep everybody updated as events and as facts and data, and as the chart plays out, there'll be a lot more information, and we're going to try and tweet our thoughts and ideas and go from there.
You got it, brother. So everybody stay safe and take care. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.